Bradshaw from Cruiser Customizing.
Gregory Beck from WWGe Distributing.
With your Wednesday with Greg. This week, Greg, I'd like to talk about what you do to your motorcycle before you take it out on the road the first time.
Kyle, the first thing I do is I go over the bike thoroughly. I do a visual, and I start from one end to the other, doesn't matter. And I start with the tires.
Down here at the rear end, Greg, we're looking at the tires and the brakes are the two things we really want to focus on back here. As a professional, someone who's been riding for many, many years, what are the key things you want to look at back here?
I want to look at the condition of the tire. Well, the first thing I do is I'm going to check the tire pressure, cold. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to ride it to a gas station to do it. I'm going to do it at home. And then I'm looking at the sidewall, make sure that it's okay. There's no cracks. Cracks generally occur from a bike sitting a long time with insufficient air. Then I'm going to look at the grooves, make sure that there's no hazards in here, like a nail or something stuck in here. Good time to find that stuff out. One thing also you might want to check is if you have a belt or you have a chain drive, you might want to check the condition of those two items too.
Absolutely. Make sure you have the proper slack in the chain and it's properly lubricated. Now really quick, I'd like to show our watchers out there exactly how to check if you have enough brake pad on your motorcycle in order to have efficient braking.
Yeah, the brake pad material is the element that causes the friction that stops the bike. When that material gets too thin, a lot more heat is transferred from the rotor into the caliper and then into the fluid.
So what are we looking at here, Greg?
We're looking at the distance between the backing plate and the rotor, which that's where the pad resides. So this pad looks like it's got about maybe 80%, 85% left.
And while talking about brakes, we need to take a look at the brake fluid itself at the beginning of each season to take a look and see if the color is correct and if there's correct pressure. So let's go on for the front of the bike and take a look.
Okay.
So on that back brake, this is the brake lever. As you can see, we have plenty of pressure. If you come down over here, you can actually take a look and see that my brake fluid level currently is at the lower level, which means I'm going to need some fluid here in the near future. Now let's go up to the bars and take a look. Up here on the handlebars, we're going to find your front brake master cylinder. The fluid inside this reservoir must be kept to your manufacturer specifications.
About 3, 4, and 5.
And it's a key that you do not mix those fluids. Find out what your manufacturer specs are and stick with them.
It's really important that you inspect the fluid not only for level, but for clarity. If you see a lot of brown in there, that generally means that moisture's gotten into it and it's oxidized. Not a good thing to have.
Another thing to take a look at before you jump on your ride is your clutch. If you've got a hydraulic clutch, do you have a proper friction zone? Is there proper pressure inside that master cylinder, or do you need to rebleed it? Here on the VTX, we have a cable clutch. And what are we looking at, Greg?
I'm looking at the free play, and personally, this one's a little bit tight for me. I'm going to loosen the jam nut, and I'm going to put a little free play into this by twisting it in. Inversely, if it was too loose, you'd want to twist it out. Yeah, that's more like it. About 1/4 inch, 10 millimeter right here. Gives you good feel, and you're not going to worry about burning the clutch up by having it too tight. One thing you should look at while you're inspecting your cable, right here is the pivot point, and there's a barrel in there that's usually made out of a soft metal. And if you could get a little grease up in there with a Q-tip or something to the pivot point, you'd be better off. Most cable breakage is right here, caused by the bending effect. Hopefully when you put your bike away, that you put a additive in the gasoline to help preserve it. If you didn't, you might be in for a little work. You might have to drain your float bowls. You do not want to pump that bad gas into your carburetor. If
the bike fires up and runs, it's not a bad idea to throw some fuel stabilizer in there to stabilize the fuel that's going to remain in there until the riding season really begins.
Yeah.
Now, there's one thing, Greg, that if all of these things do work and this other one thing doesn't work, you're not going to go anywhere, and that's the battery.
Yeah, the battery, kind of like the heart of the motorcycle. You got to maintain it. If you have a battery tender lead or something to plug in all the time when you're not riding, it's a smart thing to do. An old battery in a motorcycle, even getting bump starting it, if the battery's old, you're going to tax the charging system and the regulator rectifier by running an old battery. Not good.
And there you go. Check every point of your motorcycle before you back it out of the garage and hit the road. Safety is definitely #1, and when riding on 2 wheels, it's even more imperative.
And it's your butt in the saddle.